during those times, I don't know if somebody asked him to make some changes, if this was, you know, so how it was done. But there are some things on here, and most of them have, so I would say the larger percentage of it is correct, but especially down that section you're talking about.
Let me try to help us
Okay, go
accomplish
ahead.
something here.
Okay.
Since we're open to it.
Okay.
Council, this says discussion. Can we take action to empower from this discussion? I mean, it's been posted and everything. So
I thought
nobody can say
I
they
thought
didn't
it
have
said
notice.
take action.
Take action.
Hmm?
But if it's on the agenda and we got a quorum here,
It says on here, all items are subject to action.
okay, so the chair will entertain a
On
motion
the top of the agenda.
to have Mr. Brown get with the Dr.
Mr. Thompson,
Thompson
the quality.
to empower him to at least give us the details on, you know, doing this so we can take a look at the invoice and then see if we need specific other things added to it.
And Mayor,
If
if
we
I
can
may,
get that, then we can act on it and at least get that going. Yes, sir.
if I may, just to sort of help move this, get the dialogue. So step number one, we need the map updated, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I put on here, Mr. Thompson will look at agendas, do street by street of the map, and we'll pay for his time and materials, but he needs to get a submission to us. Does that sound right for the map?
Sounds about right.
Okay, you want to make a motion of that, and then we can get that started?
Sure.
And then that, and I've got some more if you want, I can help kind of push this along.
So should I make it specific to Mr. Thompson or just specific to the process?
Why don't you just make it, in case he drops out or
Okay.
something, maybe
Okay.
specific to the
Okay.
process.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Rowland?
I move that we update maps and get update maps with street by street for the city of Prairie.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded that we update maps for the streets with the city of Prairie View. You've heard the motion, ready for the questions? Now, we've got a bunch of different maps. Do we need to say zoning maps to make sure we get a zoning map back, to be clear?
Yes.
Will you accept that from you?
I set that from you.
Okay.
And then
So-
do you want to authorize any, I guess he needs to come and bring you a submission.
Correct. That's why I didn't.
Okay.
And we'll make sure those things and any other thoughts are included in the work that he's, you know, charged to do. in
And
case the
we
code
know
needs
the
to
pulse
change
of
or something.
council, that he can start getting a submission to y'all. Okay.
Sure, okay.
And so the one coming on Friday would be.
Hold on, we got a motion on the floor. You've heard the motion, ready for the questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Let the record show it's unanimous, so we're gonna get us a updated zoning map.
Okay, and,
Will you have him give us some sort of deadline, at least with the invoice on the work that he's, so we can,
okay, we're bringing a preliminary on Friday.
But will that be a detailed map with streets on it?
It's gonna be like this, but we're taking out all of these colors where you can't see the streets through the map. Okay,
Because the thing is, the
just like
map,
the yellow part on there?
yeah, because the thing is, the map that we want is a detailed street map. So
Yeah.
any preliminary map that's not detailed street, then no matter what, we're gonna still need another map that's a detailed.
Okay, so
now, we've got some of those. What we may need are streets that show at least the edges of the zoning are clearly defined.
I have a
By
map
a
with all of the
street or
streets
some mark.
without the color on it. And that's what he's using, to overlay the color over the street map.
Okay,
So
Councilman
you
Randall?
still see the streets.
I think, what Councilman Wallace is asking for as well, but I think getting all of that specific, I think there's supposed to be some council, mayor input on that process. And, you know, that was the initial purpose of this meeting, so I feel like them bringing that map, then we can
Work from it.
work with
from
the
that.
map, from that map, and then that's the information that we communicate.
That's
First, we gotta fix it.
Right,
Yeah.
first we have to
And
fix
then
it.
we can give y'all good information. Or
Right,
they can give y'all
so-
good information.
And so basically what I feel like needs to happen is this workshop that we're having right now needs to be moved for Friday when they have the presentation and the information available. Because right now, that gives us everything that we need to work from.
Now, do we wanna wait and make sure he's actually finished it, so we have like some work
Well-
product, and then maybe schedule a meeting with something in hand and come with ideas?
He said that they were preparing a presentation for this meeting, but he thought it was Friday and not today. And so I think that, I think the information that comes from that meeting is the information that we communicate to Dr. Thompson.
Okay.
If my understanding is correct.
That's what I'm giving him, the map with no colors on, it, just with all the
What-
streets on it.
What time on Friday, so we can make sure we have a super quorum, or?
5 o'clock, I think
We
is,
published it for 5 o'clock, I thought, that's what.
On Friday?
let me
I
check.
won't be here, but I do have a question. The map that y'all are pulling from, is it like that map from the appraisal district? So remember, we get, well, which is part of kind of the issues, right? So we get the map from the appraisal district, and then that has all the streets and has all the stuff. And then we can superimpose it to just show Prairie.
Zoning.
And then we just drop our zoning on top of, because the appraisal districts have like the streets and the different things on it. And so, did the map that you're pulling,
I have a color map like this, that's similar to that shows the 3 cities.
Could you all do this overlay type thing that council had done before, Mr. Brown? Because if we take that concept with something like that and we simply overlay the zoning, then at least whatever area we're talking about is
Okay.
specific, and the zoning will show.
So what we're doing is what you're talking about.
Okay.
That's what
Okay.
we're doing.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Friday is at 5.
We're double checking on the time right now.
Councilwoman Williams may be able to make, anybody else can't make Friday though?
yeah, I can't do
Because otherwise, if we know we're not gonna have a super quorum, we may not want to post it, but again, see what you all have and then get it back to council,
What
roughly a
we're
little over a
doing
week
is,
later, but at least it's been done now, and we got something to discuss what our needs are.
We need to do that.
the reason that we wanted this to be on a computer scan where you can easily make changes. And so it'd be like a working map, and you can make suggestions, we put in and take out, and then when we get through.
So if planning and zoning is having this meeting Friday,
Mhm.
we don't need a super quorum unless we wanna act at that meeting.
Correct.
So if we post it and, well, I guess as long as we don't have a super quorum, we can't be
Well, if you
violating
have
the
a
Open Meetings
quorum,
Act
if you have
because
a-
we're attending their meeting,
Right. If you have a quorum though,
We wouldn't be able to meet there.
not me, no.
but you can't
But
have
see,
a
we could
quorum.
attend and maybe give some input.
We couldn't have a
You
quorum.
can't have
We
a
couldn't,
quorum.
we couldn't speak on it unless it's posted. We couldn't, we
Right.
could
Right.
attend, but we wouldn't be able to provide any input.
But we could put, can we not put that there may be a quorum of council, and if so, we could convene and then,
I would just say let's post it as a regular meeting, I mean,
Okay.
excuse me, as a special meeting, and if you have enough people, great. If not, then you wanna make sure you don't have a quorum, so you
Right.
might have to have someone leave or switch out, so that you're not having,
sure.
like
Okay.
we've happened in the
Or
past.
can we, if they're meeting on Friday, can we reconvene on Monday? And we-
Give us some time to.
And we can move this town hall to the following Monday?
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
okay with me.
Because there's not just the map, there's the map, there's a comprehensive plan y'all might wanna discuss, there's updating putting people on the commission, because we're down some people, right, Mr. Brown?
Yeah.
We need some people on the commission, we need to update maybe some of the zoning regulations, and then, the application.
Well, that can be, again, a next step with something in hand as to the working document, and then what else we might want or need
Those two,
from there.
those 2 or 3 things you named,
Mhm.
can we have that like for, once we kind of work through what we're doing now for like next steps? Because I think if we could, like, we just voted to do the map, we gotta talk about the comprehensive plan. But then if we could like talk about, we need the rules for zoning, because I want to talk about the application.
The application.
Because everyone has a copy, and I don't know if everybody's haven't seen
I
it.
don't have a copy.
Ms. Myra gave you one, it said zoning
Oh, okay.
application packet, and so I wanted us to like go through that, but I wanted to go through number 2 first, the comprehensive plan, is that just the zoning comprehensive plan? Is that something that y'all are working on already, or is that's what Mr. Thompson's doing?
No, well, so the
Because we use
comprehensive
some-
plan is the comprehensive plan for zoning, and talks about your development and your future development. I don't think that has been done in many, 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 many,
No, that
many
was
years.
Mr. Pugh from A&M.
And so it would be a good time to get your map updated and then simultaneously have your comprehensive plan redone, because you have so much new development coming on board and they might say, well, you know, I'm glad you've got a great map now. We might want to shift some things around depending on, you know, business 290 might just want to be complete business rather than any sort of resident. I'm just saying as an example. So you hire, you know, a firm that does that and can chart your future development for the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years. And then any zoning changes that have to occur within that time period will be based on that plan. Does that make
And see, a
sense?
lot of the plan part, we talked to one or two individuals who are in that business, including, like you said, someone that y'all use from A&M, but it's difficult when all these things are outdated, because there's been some major shifts, which, you know, are good. I mean, the shifts are good, it's activity, but they need to see what they're working with, because they can't put this over here and they don't know what the zoning is. And if we don't understand totally, and I certainly admit to not understanding, that when I think in terms of a zone, I think it's gonna be like the overlay and like that one. And again, I guess the other thing that concerns me is, if that is and has been the city's practice all these years, when they made a change, they made a wholesale change. They never, to my knowledge, made a single property change. They changed a zone. It makes it easy for us and others, because otherwise, we don't need a zoning map, because someone can petition to put something anywhere.
Well,
That's part of the right that they have.
Well, they have the right to
Being
request
clear.
the zone to be changed.
No,
I agree,
it's
but not their
No,
single
no,
property.
it's not their zone. They're requesting, so a person doesn't have the rights, so say we all lived on the same street.
Mhm.
I don't have the right to change your property. I have the right to change my property. And so the variance allows me my right, even though you have a zoning change, if I own the property or I've owned the property longer, or if I live in the property and all of y'all have changed our property to multifamily, high-rise apartment complexes, and my house is the only one next to all of y'all, I can stay in a house. But even though all of y'all have apartments, I can't just go build an apartment tomorrow. I have to then submit an application for a zoning variant, a change, just so now I'm letting the city know that I'm exercising my right, because now this area was changed to, so everyone changed. I came in and said, I don't want mine changed, and I fought against it. I lost because Mr. Brown put it on the map anyway. City council voted on it anyway.
But
So that
look
area
at-
changed.
Yeah, but there you go, but look at what you just
The
said.
area
Count,
changed.
exactly,
Yes.
that's what we're saying.
That's when you do the
You're
zoning
changing
map.
the area,
No,
not
that's the
a
zoning
property.
map I'm talking about.
Right.
The map of our street changed. All of y'all petitioned, and Mr. Brown said, well, we're gonna change the whole area. That was voted, I lost. But that doesn't change my house. I still can have a house there.
Sure.
Next to all of y'all apartments. Now, from that, I still have the right. Now, 5 years later, y'all can't say, well, you gotta keep your house because you're gonna build a better apartment mine and take all my tenants. You can't say, well, you gotta stay at home. I can then submission to say, now I wanna exercise my rights since this zone has changed to then be the apartment.
Okay, now, hold on, council.
Okay.
When a zone has been changed, and as Councilman Rowland said, if this zone has been changed where we all live on the same block, same street, right? And we build multifamily units, and his is stay in a house. When he wants to change his, for example, hypothetically to multifamily units, he submits a permit application. He does not need to request a zoning change because it's already been zoned and changed. Am I right or am I
If the
crazy?
zone had, and let's make sure we're talking apples to apples, so if the zone has been changed, the whole zone, okay, is now multifamily, okay? And you have a single
And
family
he's
residence.
got a house still there, yes.
You are a non-conforming, okay, and then you're like, I want to build an apartment. Great, we have slapped on your property the multifamily. So you can build because it's already been it's been zoned to that.
Yes,
You just
But-
need a permit.
You see, because you've
But
already
no
been,
zone.
it's already a use by right, okay? Now, but let me step back and answer the mayor's question. So I looked at a couple of things y'all have done in the past to see what y'all have done in the past, okay? So in 2013, you did from R1 to manufactured housing for block 2, lots 1 through 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. That's it. Those, Ferguson Heights.
Oh, Ferguson Heights.
Ferguson Heights, okay?
That was the specified just for that area.
Those particular lots are the only thing that got rezoned. And then
But follow what you're saying
This is the
though.
area, this is the area.
That's the same
Wasn't
thing
spot on.
Councilman Rowland's example touched on. All of us petitioned to change, and we changed, and he had the right not to change,
Right.
right? But like you say, it's non-conforming because the area, the zone, has been
No,
changed.
y'all didn't
There's
petition.
no,
Y'all, your zone changed, just like Ferguson Heights.
okay,
One side of Ferguson Heights didn't have manufactured homes, so meaning no one could put a manufactured home there on that particular example, except for on the other side of the street. That zone variance change was that this is not zoned that, but then whatever it said is that the legal description says, well, since it is not zoned that, the manufactured home can only go on
These
this
lots.
side, that lot 1, 5, for whatever.
Not
for
the
whatever
whole
reason,
area.
Not the whole area.
just these specific, that's what was, and then another example if I can, just in 2014, you did R1 to R3, it was a 3-acre tract, or in a 1.5 acre tract, and this was on Owens Road. So wherever Owens Road, you didn't change every single thing on Owens Road, you only changed the lot B 1.5 acres from R1 to R3.
It was farmland before.
This was on January 28th of 2014. So whatever that lot, whoever owned that property, I'm assuming it passed, I'm just looking at the agenda, I don't have the minutes, but this was on the agenda, and there's a bunch of them. So it says, discuss and take action to consider rezoning property from R1 single-family residential to R3 multifamily residential, 341 Owen Road, okay? That's the address, and they give the legal description down here, okay? So you only change that part, whatever that is, okay? So if everything around it is orange and means something, okay, but they thought this was appropriate to be multifamily, that's all that changed, not everything around it.
There were no other buildings on that site.
Okay,
do
so,
you remember where that was more or less?
well, it says it was
I'm looking it up.
January.
It sounds like, that was the,
Was that the Sal property?
yeah, that's what it
That
sounded
sounded
like.
like the fight, it didn't
And
pass.
that was
but
a
that
big
was-
fight, that did not pass.
But again, for the right, so that was, it didn't move politically.
It was not approved.
But as far as the process, that was the correct process. That didn't move because of politics.
But no, there was an issue with the zone was zoned single family. And they
Right, yeah,
didn't
it was
want
R1.
to chop up, and that might be when our spot zoning came up.
No.
Because they
No.
weren't looking to change the whole zone, they were trying to change
No,
their property.
No, the issue with that is the next door neighbor, part of this is right on that property, right behind it, if you look on the map, the yellow to brown, there's R3. And so part of that, again, the politics of it was that there was a neighbor who's in the R1 and didn't want the property. Now, mind you, on the other side of the neighbor, they couldn't control what someone could put up today, which was zone R3, could put up the same apartments right next to them already. And so someone wanted to get a zone change and say, well, next to you, someone could put up an apartment right now. I'm across the street from you, and I want to do X, Y, and Z. And so so that was the politics of it. But if we're just going through the our process, the process was that was a correct procedures. And so we're not, part of our understanding is that we have a zoning map, because this is, when we do this, we want to create this to live by this for the next 5 years. But someone may have an idea, say, hey, I may have a property and I want to change my property, on this spot, and I wanna say, on my and I wanna see if I can get a zoning change, variance change. And so that's what that tool is used for. But that's correct. We shouldn't use this tool to circumvent our process. So someone says, so if we said someone bought all this property on a tax sale in an area that it says no manufactured home, we shouldn't have 10 people come to the area and say, hey, we want manufactured homes. You knew when you bought the property that there was no manufactured homes. And so there's the difference between using our zoning thing. Now, the example that everyone's gonna use is that, well, you let a mobile home go in that area, which is different. And so, again, that's not spot zoning. Spot zoning is if we do that if we use that tool all the time. The variance zoning is again, going against what the map that we've approved, that we've had planning and zoning look at, city council look at, the citizens look at, and we said this is how we want it to go. The variances is supposed to be used for these things that we have, like, again, examples and cases that we've used them for. But the pipeline of the applications that we have, we shouldn't be using our variance process to go around what we have already. Now, unless we change this area and we say, okay, we're gonna let the whole two streets, the whole whatever, then that's different. But we have not done that. We've not said we're gonna let the whole neighborhood be changed from mixed use to R1 or whatever.
Every single one that y'all have done has been individual pieces of property.
What you mean?
Well, but accumulation, not an individual standing alone. Like the one on Whitechapel, it was like 7 or 8 lots, and they're huge lots from
Right.
1488 going almost all the way down to Richards Road. And they changed that whole side of the street.
Okay.
See, so they approached it like that, and that's
Was
the
that all the
slippery
same
slope
family?
that.
Yeah, were there one applicant?
No.
Were there multiple applicants that wanted
No,
that?
actually what happened was, someone had put,
He was moving into one lot of it that was on that side of the street.
Ms. Thompson,
No, Miss
Mileage.
Clark.
Ms. Clark. Yeah, Ms.
Oh,
Clark.
we talking about Ferguson Heights or Whitechapel?
I was talking about Whitechapel.
Talking about Whitechapel.
But see, in both situations, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you were on the council, in both situations, they were like blocks of individual land, but it wasn't just that one property, even though it was one property owner who petitioned. See, it was one petitioner, but they didn't stop and start with that one piece of land. It says 7 or 8 lots. And on Ferguson Heights, they did the whole side of the street, which is owned by multiple individuals.
Then you would
That's
need-
the slippery slope
Well, then it was done wrong. Because if you don't have the property owner petition for their property to be rezoned, then unless you are doing a zoning change that's coming from your comprehensive plan that says this is now, and then passes through planning and zoning, and then passes through council, which has not happened, okay?
Well, no, that's what they did. That's exactly what that is. They did that some time ago. And they created zones that we didn't used to have, am I right? Y'all set that up when y'all did that. Yes
It
or
didn't
no?
happen all at one time.
I know, but
Yeah.
that's how y'all got to that point, though. Y'all did the whole city and came up with that.
No, we've never, it's been a long time since we've done the whole city.
I know,
That's why I
but-
think it's time to do.
But that's
it.
the whole city, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're saying is,
That's
what
what-
if we do what the city has done before, and working with this gentleman that we're talking about, and what council wants on the maps and stuff, if we go with areas like the city historically has done, and just like they did on University Drive, they changed it. Ms. Carter's house and all the other property owners is general commercial. They still get to reside in it because it's grandfathered in, but the area sold or new resident would have to conform.
And that's when you would do your that's when you do that in conjunction with a comprehensive plan, coming in and doing a study saying, this whole area is no longer residential, even though your old map 20 years ago says it is, it needs to be changed to commercial. That's the comprehensive plan process.
Okay, but see, that's where we're also changing areas and not individual
Correct.
properties, because the applications will just be flowing crazy. We would have no control. And how do you do it? And Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, they enforce these housing rules, and there's some things here that concern me over the years. When you do for one and you don't do for a similarly situated individual, that's the definition of potentially housing discrimination.
Can I point out something? Okay, legally speaking, and I know we have an attorney, spot zoning is against the law. So you have to have justification of why you're doing something that may resemble spot zoning. And so the intention has to be, okay, we're going to add to that, make a larger area into the particular thing that we're doing. Now, one of the statements that he read on that, for instance, about the apartments, even though that was approved by council, it was essentially reversed because they would not allow them to do it. The citizens' protest stopped it. So now we need to change that, and so in the future, somebody will come back and say, oh no, you changed that in a certain date.
Actually, what happened, that's not exactly what happened.
Oh, well, I'm saying it's
What,
something.
what happened was, it was found that the process had not been followed. Everyone who was supposed to be notified was not notified, so Attorney Arpatil just canceled it. It did not really go through.
And so the main issue is that even
So
though.
it may or may
it's
not
all
have,
it was
we
passed,
really don't know.
It didn't say pass, it said it was on the
somebody
agenda.
Oh.
But that-
I
he
thought
just
you
read
said-
it.
I thought you said-
He just read it was on the
Okay,
agenda.
and so it's been changed. Okay.
I think we're kind of working backwards. I think before we can even adjust the process, we have to have an up-to-date map to actually see what was going on. I mean, the discussion is good, but at the same time, we're speaking hypothetical, and we're not speaking off of factual information. So that's why I propose that we move this discussion into one day, because right now, what we're looking at isn't
Yeah.
even coinciding with our conversation, because we're not looking at a map that represents.
But this is what we legally hold people accountable today. This is
Right.
our map.
Right, but right now, we're having this meeting because we have an issue with our process, we have an issue with how we're operating in the moment. So if we're trying to correct the process, it starts with an updated map.
Okay, well, okay, I got you.
You know what I'm
What you
saying?
saying is right.
And Counselor, can we not, if it be the council's wishes, can we not make it so that the city will essentially do what they've been doing, instead of changing just one individual lot and messing up the chemistry of whatever the comprehensive or whatever the people there want, that you have to change
No, we want to use
an
the
an
legal.
area or something?
We want
The
to
whole
use
point of zoning is that if you zone a whole area R1 and something changes after that, okay, that property owner can come to the city for their particular lot and say, my circumstances have changed, city, and here's what's changed. It's changed because there's a major highway running through now, this is no longer appropriate for resident, or whatever the condition is. Rica McCardle is a prime example, okay? There was manufactured mobile homes all down that street. The determination from the planning commission was there was a change condition on that piece of property so she can have a mobile home. She then took it to you, city council, and city council said, we agree, there's a change condition, and voted for that particular piece of property.
Actually, that was not a change condition.
That's what was in the
fact-
final report.
The fact was, she had put it there, so they said, well, let's just leave it. That's what happened with hers. It was there prior to
Yes.
coming before the.
It was there
It
prior.
was there prior to, but that wasn't
That wasn't
the,
But see, she had just put it there though.
That wasn't the
We could've
basis
made
of the
a-
decision we made, though.
we could have made her
Right.
remove
We
it.
could've, yeah.
But the decision we made is what the attorney
Because the
said,
conditions
because the
changed.
conditions change, and so we wanna make sure that we're all a united front that we're representing the city, and the conditions change, and that's why we voted on that. We just wanna make sure that we're using zoning and our zoning variances the way it's supposed to.
And I agree.
We have a current map that we may not like, we're updating it, but this is what we have, and we gotta make sure that when people come to planning and zoning, that they're using the zoning this.
I don't think we
But-
need to be giving out any permits or changing any.
Until we're clear.
Changing any,
And we haven't been, but there was no change there. And that's what I wanna make sure you and others who haven't spent much time in that part of the town.
I drove through that area.
Mr. I know, you saw what's there now,
Right.
but you don't know that that's been there for 10, 20 years.
The
That
planning
doesn't make it
commission
change.
made that
That's what it
final
was.
report, and they submitted that final report with those words
Map.
to city council. And city council said, yes, we will allow that.
No, you're not
You're
following
saying-
me. What I'm saying to you, and anyone who doesn't know, and Mr. Johnson, you've been over there longer than anybody.
I grew up right across.
Those mobile homes have been in that part of town. It's not a new thing to have manufactured homes over there. We've been moving out the ones on wheels, right? But manufactured homes in Rosewood is nothing new. None of them are new.
We're not
She
saying.
put hers there.
The new is, again, so we're talking semantics. We're not saying new or old, we're saying that circumstances changed, and we made the decision based upon the circumstances that were presented to us that made appropriate sense for the community that was already there. The difference now to say that because they have mobile homes or that we don't use anymore, because they have manufactured homes up there, and more people want to put in more manufactured homes, right now, until we go back through the comprehensive plan, and everybody in that community says that, hey, we're okay with having more manufactured homes come in this area, that's the only way we'll change that community to having more manufactured homes. Now, I know there's some proposals and things, but that's for the planning and zoning and for that neighborhood to bring to us. That's not for us to try to automatically solve the issues. That's how people have their voice.
Right, but no, we have some legalities we have to address. Because if you go through Rosewood, you would never have as many manufactured homes as you have in Ferguson Heights, and at least 2 individuals have been denied putting manufactured homes that I know of. One I sat in the audience, and one was up here. They were denied in Ferguson Heights, and it has more manufactured homes. So we can't do, you know what I'm saying? It's got to be an understanding, or legalities do fall into play. Especially when you let some come in, and some of possibly another persuasion comes in, and you tell them no. We got to be aware of, and we got to understand those laws. Because we are responsible and liable, and they are way too easy to prove. Because we've got everything on the agenda. We got people's names on the agenda. The ones you said yes, and the ones you said no. So we have to have an understanding, or, you know, it's not as simple as an area change. Ferguson Heights has a lot more manufactured homes than all of Rosewood combined.
Let me comment on Rosewood. A lot of those manufactured homes were moved in without permission.
Like the one that was approved. That's my point.
No, that one was approved.
No, it was